The silent distress. Call Lieutenant Marcus Thompson was enjoying his coffee in the Deep Space Monitoring Station when the universe changed forever. The orbital facility around Jupiter had been humanity's furthest outpost for 15 years, quietly, listening to the cosmic background radiation and mapping distant star systems. Nobody expected to hear anything interesting. The signal came through at 0347 hours, cutting through the static like a knife through silence. Marcus nearly dropped his mug as the translation software began working on the alien transmission. The words that appeared on his screen made his blood run cold. "This is High Counselor Zephyr of the Nexari Republic. Our worlds burn. The Dominion fleet has broken through our final defenses. They show no mercy to civilians. Our children are dying. Please, if anyone receives this message, remember us. Remember that we tried to build something beautiful among the stars." Marcus stared at the screen in disbelief. First contact with alien life, and it was a death cry. The Nexari were describing systematic genocide by something called the Galactic Dominion. But what made his hands shake was the timestamp. The signal had traveled for 3 days. Whatever was happening to these people was already over. Within hours, Admiral Jackson Pierce was standing in the monitoring station, his weathered face grim as he reviewed the transmission. Pierce had commanded Earth's small defense fleet for a decade, but they had never faced anything like this. 5 battleships and a dozen support vessels were humanity's entire space navy. "Sir, we're receiving more transmissions," reported Communications Officer Diana Walsh. Her voice was tight, with emotion. "Multiple species are under attack. The Dominion is moving through entire star systems like a plague." Pierce studied the tactical display showing the affected regions. The pattern was clear and terrifying. The Dominion was conducting a coordinated campaign of extermination across dozens of civilizations. Each distress call painted the same picture of overwhelming force and ruthless efficiency. "What about the galactic community?" Pierce asked. "Surely someone is responding to these calls for help." Diana shook her head. "We've intercepted some diplomatic channels. The major powers are calling for emergency sessions and diplomatic solutions. But no one is sending military aid. They're all too afraid of the Dominion." Marcus felt sick. Entire civilizations were crying out for help, and the galaxy's response was to form committees and write strongly worded letters. The universe was revealing itself to be a cold, uncaring place where the strong devoured the weak, while others watched in fearful silence. But then Pierce did something unexpected. The old admiral straightened his shoulders and turned to face his small crew. "Plot a course for the Nexari home system," he ordered. "All ships, battle stations." "Sir," Diana protested, "we don't know what we're flying into. The Dominion could have hundreds of ships." Pierce's eyes were steel. "Then hundreds of ships will learn what happens when you threaten innocent people in front of humans. Signal Earth. Command, tell them we're going to war." The message reached Earth 12 hours later, sparking the most important debate in human history. The impossible decision. President Rebecca Martinez stood before the emergency assembly, knowing that her next words would define humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The vast chamber was filled with representatives from every nation on Earth, their faces reflecting the same mixture of fear and determination she felt in her heart. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice carrying across the silent hall, "we face an unprecedented situation. We have discovered that we are not alone in the universe and that the galaxy is burning." The holographic display behind her showed the intercepted distress calls, the pattern of destruction spreading across dozens of star systems. Each red marker represented an entire civilization that had been exterminated by the Galactic Dominion. "Admiral, Pierce and our deep space fleet are already en route to the Nexari system," Martinez continued. "But we must decide now whether to commit everything we have to this fight. Our analysts estimate the Dominion possesses technology centuries ahead of our own. The odds of survival are minimal. Senator William Foster from the North American Federation stood up. "Madam President, with respect, why is this our fight? These aliens are strangers to us. We have no treaties, no obligations. Shouldn't our first priority be protecting Earth?" A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly. It was a reasonable question that many were thinking, but few dared voice. Why should humanity risk extinction for species they had never met? General Patricia Nguyen, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, stepped forward. "If I may, Madam President." She activated her personal display, showing classified intelligence reports. "Our long-range sensors have detected Dominion Scout ships approaching the edge of our solar system. This isn't about helping strangers anymore. It's about survival." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Martinez raised her hand for silence. "The General is correct. Intelligence suggests the Dominion's expansion is systematic. They eliminate all potential threats in their path. Earth is directly in that path." Representative Chen Wei from the Asian Coalition asked the question everyone was thinking. "What chance do we have? Our entire space fleet is 20 ships. The aliens are describing armadas of thousands." Martinez nodded grimly. "Our scientists have been analyzing the Dominion's tactics based on the distress calls. They rely on overwhelming force and terror, but they've never faced humans before. They don't know about our greatest advantage." "Which is?" Senator Foster demanded. "We don't surrender," Martinez replied simply. "Every species that sent those distress calls was seeking rescue. They were hoping someone else would save them. But humans don't wait for rescue. When we're cornered, we fight. When we're outnumbered, we adapt. When we're facing extinction, we become something our enemies never expected." Minister Alexandra Petrov from the European Union stood. "You're asking us to bet our entire species on human stubbornness." "I'm asking you to bet on human courage," Martinez corrected. "The Dominion has conquered dozens of civilizations because no one fought back effectively, because everyone was afraid, because the galaxy has forgotten what it means to stand up to bullies." The debate continued for hours, but Martinez could see the tide turning. Despite their fears, despite the overwhelming odds, humanity was choosing to fight. It was written in their DNA, carved into their history through countless wars and struggles. When faced with extinction, humans didn't bow their heads and wait for death. The vote was unanimous. Earth would send everything they had to support Admiral Pierce, every ship, every weapon, every soldier. They would either save the galaxy or die trying. As the assembly dissolved, Martinez stared at the star charts showing the Dominion's advance. Somewhere out there, a small human fleet was racing toward impossible odds, but for the first time since the crisis began, she felt hope. The Dominion was about to learn something new about the universe. They were about to learn about humanity. The first Battle Admiral Pierce watched the tactical display with growing dread as his small fleet approached the Nexari home system. What they found there defied their worst nightmares. The beautiful blue-green world that had once been home to billions was now a smoking ruin, its surface scarred by orbital bombardment. "My God," whispered Captain Rodriguez from the bridge of the destroyer Defiance. "They didn't just conquer it. They destroyed everything." Commander James Mitchell, Pierce's tactical officer, was studying the enemy formations with professional interest, despite his horror. "Sir, I count 47 Dominion vessels in system. They appear to be harvesting something from the planet's surface." Pierce felt rage building in his chest. The Dominion wasn't just killing civilizations, they were strip-mining the corpses of entire worlds. "Captain Torres, signal the fleet. We're going in." "Admiral," Captain Elena Torres from the battleship Vengeance replied over the comm, "we're outnumbered more than 20 to 1. Our weapons haven't been tested against their technology." "Then we'll test them now," Pierce growled. "All ships, Attack Formation Delta, target their command vessel. The human fleet emerged from behind the system's largest moon like avenging angels. 5 battleships and 12 support vessels against nearly 50 enemy ships. The mathematics of warfare said it was suicide, but humans had never been good at mathematics when lives were on the line. The first exchange of fire lit up the darkness of space with devastating energy. Dominion plasma cannons lanced out toward the human ships, weapons that had reduced dozens of civilizations to ash. But something unexpected happened. The human shields held. "Impossible," hissed Fleet Commander Vexter aboard the Dominion flagship. The insectoid alien had conquered 17 species for the Dominion, but had never seen primitive shields withstand their plasma weaponry. "What are these creatures?" Pierce smiled grimly as he watched the tactical display. "Mitchell, tell me, our secret weapons are ready." "Nuclear warheads armed and targeted, sir," Mitchell replied with savage satisfaction. "They won't expect projectile weapons in the age of energy shields." The Dominion had made a fatal assumption. Every species they had conquered used energy-based weapons and shields. They had designed their defenses accordingly. But humans still remembered the brutal effectiveness of simple kinetic force. The first nuclear torpedo struck a Dominion cruiser. Amidships, and the alien vessel simply disintegrated. The Dominion fleet recoiled in shock as more torpedoes found their marks. Their energy shields were worthless against physical projectiles traveling at significant fractions of light speed. "Primitive weapons," snarled Vextar, "but effective. All ships, evasive maneuvers, target their propulsion systems." The battle became a deadly dance in the void. Human ships used their superior maneuverability to avoid the worst of the Dominion fire while delivering devastating nuclear strikes. But the odds were still overwhelming, and Pierce watched his fleet taking terrible damage. The destroyer, Intrepid, exploded in a ball of plasma, taking 200 brave souls with it. The battleship Fury was dead in space, life support failing, as her crew fought desperately to reach the escape pods. They were winning individual engagements, but they were being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Then Captain Torres made a decision that would echo through history. "Admiral, I'm taking vengeance on a ramming course toward their flagship. If we can take out their command structure—" "Elena, no!" Pierce shouted, but it was too late. The battleship Vengeance engaged her engines at maximum burn, accelerating directly toward the massive Dominion command ship. Torres had locked down the bridge controls and was riding her ship into glory. The impact was visible from 3 light-years away. Vengeance struck the Dominion flagship at nearly 10% of light speed, and both ships vanished in a nuclear fireball that outshone the system's star. The blast wave scattered the Dominion formation and left their surviving ships leaderless and confused. Pierce seized the moment. "All ships, full attack! For the Nexari! For Captain Torres! For humanity!" The remaining human vessels struck with everything they had, and the demoralized Dominion fleet began to break apart. Within an hour, the survivors were fleeing the system. Pierce stood on his damaged bridge, looking at the cost of victory. Half his fleet was gone, including some of the finest officers he had ever known. But they had done something unprecedented. They had defeated the Dominion in open battle. The galaxy was about to learn a new name: humanity. The galactic awakening news of the human victory at Nexari spread through the galaxy like wildfire, carried by trader ships and diplomatic channels. In the grand halls of the Galactic Council on Zentara Prime, Ambassador Clith-Ira of the Altarian Republic struggled to process the intelligence reports. "You're telling me," she said slowly, "that a species we've never heard of just defeated a Dominion battle fleet with 20 ships. Intelligence Coordinator Vossen, a tall insectoid being from the hegemony, nodded his multiple heads. "The data is confirmed from multiple sources. The humans used primitive kinetic weapons to devastating effect. The Dominion's energy shields were completely ineffective. The massive council chamber buzzed with conversation as representatives from 47 species tried to understand what they were hearing. For 3 years, the Galactic Dominion had been systematically exterminating entire civilizations, while the established powers watched in paralyzed fear. Now unknown primitives from the galaxy's outer rim had actually hurt them. Supreme Chancellor Thisara called for order with her ceremonial staff. The ancient ethereal's crystalline form pulsed with nervous energy as she addressed the assembly. The question before us is simple. Do we contact these humans and offer them assistance, or do we continue to hope the Dominion's expansion will somehow halt itself? Representative Morgoth of the warrior clans slammed his armored fist on his desk. Have we fallen so far that we need barbarians to fight our battles? My people have ships, weapons, trained soldiers. We should be leading the resistance, not following primitives. Your people also have families and homeworlds, replied Ambassador Velthar of the Trade Federation quietly. As do we all. The Dominion has made it clear what happens to those who oppose them directly. Clithara stood to address the chamber. Perhaps that's exactly the point. We've all become so civilized, so concerned with preserving what we have, that we've forgotten how to fight for what's right. These humans had nothing to lose and everything to gain. They saw genocide and chose to act. A new voice echoed through the chamber as the holographic form of Admiral Pierce materialized at the speaker's podium. The human looked tired but determined, his uniform showing signs of recent battle. Several council members recoiled at his alien appearance, but his words commanded attention. Honorable representatives, Pierce began, I bring greetings from humanity and a simple message. We didn't choose this war, but we won't back down from it. The Dominion has shown us what they do to peaceful civilizations. They've shown us what they'll do to us if we let them. Chancellor Thisara leaned forward. What do you want from us, human? Nothing, Pierce replied, surprising everyone. We're not here to beg for help or seek your approval. We're here to inform you that the war has begun, whether you join it or not. Humanity will continue to fight the Dominion with or without galactic support. The blunt statement sent shockwaves through the assembly. Every other species that had faced the Dominion had pleaded for assistance. The humans were actually offering to carry the fight alone. Ambassador Zelneth of the Concord Coalition spoke up. Admiral, surely you understand the odds you face. The Dominion has thousands of ships, established supply lines, conquered worlds providing resources. What do you have? Pierce's smile was predatory. We have something they've never encountered before. We have humans who are really angry. The Dominion made one critical mistake when they started their campaign of genocide. They revealed themselves to a species that has spent its entire evolutionary history fighting impossible odds and winning. Morgoth laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. You speak of anger as if it were a weapon, human. The Dominion has faced angry species before. No, Pierce corrected him. They've faced desperate species, afraid species, species fighting for survival. They've never faced a species that considers impossible odds to be a personal challenge. They've never faced a species that reads the casualty reports and decides to fight harder. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Every representative present had grown up in a galaxy where conflicts were resolved through negotiation, where warfare was a last resort conducted, with careful consideration of costs and benefits. The humans were describing something else entirely. Pierce continued, in 3 days, the main Earth fleet will arrive with another 100 ships. We're going to start liberating every world the Dominion has taken. We're going to hunt down every one of their fleets. We're going to show this galaxy what happens when someone threatens innocent people in front of humans." He paused, looking around the chamber. "You're welcome to join us, but understand this. We're not asking for your permission. We're offering you a chance to be part of something bigger than fear." The hologram faded, leaving the council in stunned silence. They had just witnessed the birth of something unprecedented. The Terran Empire. Rising 6 months after the Battle of Nexari, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Captain Lisa Hartwell stood on the observation deck of the massive dreadnought Retribution, watching the Liberation fleet assemble in what had once been Dominion space. 200 human warships and their newly allied vessels stretched as far as the eye could see. The transformation had been extraordinary. After Admiral Pierce's speech to the Galactic Council, species after species had quietly begun reaching out to humanity, not through official channels, but through backdoor military contacts and intelligence networks. Warriors who had been held back by politicians, soldiers who had watched genocide while their leaders debated. "Captain," called Lieutenant Commander Noah Bennett from the communications station, "we're receiving confirmation from the Altarian strike group. They're in position at jump point 7. Hartwell nodded, studying the tactical display that showed the largest military operation in galactic history. 300 ships from 12 different species, all united under human command. It should have been impossible. Humans had been part of galactic civilization for less than a year, but somehow they had become its military leaders. Admiral Pierce appeared on the main screen from his flagship, the newly constructed Terran Vengeance. "All commands, this is Pierce. Today we liberate the Vexhani homeworld. Intelligence suggests the Dominion has over 70 ships in system, but they're spread across multiple defensive positions. Remember, we hit hard, we hit fast, and we don't stop until every Dominion ship is space debris." The Allied fleet jumped as one, emerging from hyperspace in a coordinated assault that caught the Dominion forces completely off guard. But this wasn't the same Dominion that had terrorized the galaxy for years. Months of defeats had shaken their confidence, and they were facing something unprecedented: unified resistance. Fleet Commander Zixeth watched in horror as the Allied ships tore through his outer defenses like they were paper. The humans had taught the other species their brutal efficiency, turning the galaxy's most peaceful civilizations into deadly warriors. Worse, they had shared their kinetic weapon technology, making every Allied ship a potential ship killer. "All vessels, fall back to the planet," Zixeth ordered desperately. "Use the civilian population as shields. These primitive allies won't risk massive casualties." But Zixeth had fundamentally misunderstood his enemies. The humans had indeed, and taught their allies to fight, but they had also taught them to think like humans. Captain Velnara of the Altarian cruiser Lightbringer opened a channel to the Dominion commander. "Commander Zixeth," she said in perfect Dominion standard, "you will release the civilian population and surrender your ships. You have 30 seconds to comply." "Or what?" Zixeth snarled. "You'll murder innocent civilians to get to us?" "No," Velnara replied calmly. "We'll do something worse. We'll rescue them." The Allied fleet descended on the planet like a surgical strike. Human Marines, supported by alien commandos, began simultaneous assaults on every Dominion facility. But instead of attacking the civilian population centers, they were liberating them. Thousands of transport ships began evacuating non-combatants, while the military forces methodically destroyed every Dominion installation. Zixeth found himself facing a type of warfare he had never encountered. The Allies weren't trying to conquer the planet. They were saving it. Every civilian they rescued was another propaganda victory, another proof that the Dominion's reign of terror was ending. Within hours, the Vexhani homeworld was free. The alien population, which had suffered under Dominion occupation for 3 years, emerged from hiding to see their rescuers. Many had never seen humans before, but word of their crusade had spread throughout the occupied territories. Captain Hartwell walked through the liberated capital city, accompanied by Vex Hani, officials who were still in shock at their sudden freedom. The insectoid beings clustered around her, their translator devices working overtime to express their gratitude. "Why?" asked High Counselor Thexara, the senior surviving Vex Hani leader. "Why did your species risk so much for people you had never met?" Hartwell considered the question carefully. It was one she had been asked dozens of times across dozens of liberated worlds. "Because that's what you do," she said finally. "When you see someone hurting innocent people, you stop them. It's not complicated. But the cost," Thexara protested. "You've lost thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. Your species has been at war for less than a year, and you've already sacrificed more than most civilizations do in centuries. And we'll keep sacrificing until the job is done." Hartwell replied simply, "That's also what you do." As news of the liberation reached Earth, President Martinez stood before the Global Assembly once again. But this time, she wasn't asking for permission to go to war. She was announcing the formation of something entirely new. "The Terran Empire," she declared, "is not about human dominance. It's about human principles. Any species that believes in protecting the innocent, in standing up to bullies, in fighting for what's right, will find a place in our alliance." The empire that emerged from humanity's first galactic war was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Built on the principles of mutual protection and shared sacrifice, it attracted species from across known space. Not because they feared human military power, but because they admired human courage. The Galactic Dominion would continue to fight for another 2 years, but their fate was sealed the moment they made humanity their enemy. They had awakened something in the galaxy that had been sleeping for too long. The willingness to fight for strangers, to sacrifice for principles, to stand up when everyone else sat down. The Terran Empire was born not from conquest, but from humanity's simple refusal to let genocide happen on their watch, and the galaxy would never be the same.